Greetings, YouTube! The Doctor is in. Dr. Urias Papers here, coming at you with another commentary on Dungeons and Dragons. And today we are going to talk about the spell Contagion. That is, we are going to talk about the 2024 version of Contagion, and we are going to compare it to this that's up in the screen right now, which is the Legacy 2014 version of Contagion. We're going to compare and contrast. We're going to see which one is better, which one is worse, and what other classes and class combinations and spell combinations we can use with this. But first, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you like this video. Hit the like button if you have any questions or comments. Please leave a question or a comment. And don't forget to hit that notification bell. All right, so we gave Contagion a C- back in the day. I was not a super fan of this particular spell. It didn't have the best initial effect, but it could monumentally get worse. All right, so it was a 5th level spell that took an action. It had a range of touch, which that was not good to begin with. It lasted for 7 days, kind of. So you touched a creature, you made a melee spell attack against a creature within reach. On a hit, the target is poisoned, and poisoned is a okay condition. So, and I'm going to be looking over at a screen over on the side as I highlight these things, because I'm looking at this spell right in front of me and over on the side at the same time. So, you have disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks, which is pretty bad. And then at the end of each of the target's turns, they made a Constitution saving throw. If they succeeded on 3 of these, the poison went away and the spell ended. If they failed 3 of these, and it doesn't say consecutive, it just said they had to succeed or fail. They kept making them until they got to 3 on one of them. The target is no longer poisoned if they fail, but they choose from the diseases below, and the diseases below were pretty nasty, and then these diseases lasted for 7 days unless they got cured. So there was blinding sickness, which made the creature have disadvantage on wisdom checks and was blinded. There was filth fever, which affected strength. There was flesh rot, which affected charisma and vulnerability to all damage, which was bad. There was mind fire, which was intelligence. There was seizure, which was dex, and slimy doom, which was constitution, and stunned them whenever they took damage. So that, none of those were great, but it had to be 3 failed Constitution saving throws. By the time this spell kicked in, the combat was pretty much over. So let's take a look at the 2024 version. Here it is. It's still a 5th level spell. Oh, and I almost forgot, this spell was usable by a whole bunch of different classes. Clerics and druids, Oathbreaker paladins, the Undying warlocks, Circle of Spores druids, and we're not going to talk about the rest of them because the rest of them are third-party content. So let's take a look at Contagion in 2024. Still a 5th level spell, still 1 action, still touch, still kind of lasts for 7 days, still a base cleric spell, a base druid spell, a paladin oathbreaker spell, a undying warlock, Circle of Spores druid. So still kind of mostly the base classes. You touched a creature, the target has to make a Constitution saving throw, and this is new, or they take 11d8 necrotic damage and have the poisoned condition. So those are really important things. The 11d8 is on average about 50 points of damage, and the poison condition again is disadvantage on attack rolls and all ability checks. Not saving throws, but ability checks. So if you're going to grapple them, then there is an ability check that is involved at the back end of a grapple, but they got rid of a lot of the ability checks at the front end of a lot of things. Also, choose 1 ability when you cast the spell. While poisoned, the target has disadvantage on saving throws made with the chosen ability. And you could choose Constitution because of the next particular paragraph. The target must repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns until it gets 3 successes or 3 failures, not consecutive. So whatever happens first happens. If the target succeeds on 3 of these saves, the spell ends. If the target fails 3 of these saves, Then the spell lasts for 7 days. When the poison target receives an effect that would end the poison condition, the target must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or the poison condition does not end. So that means you can't get rid of the poison condition because it's part of the contagious disease. So they're going to take 50 points of damage and they're going to be poisoned. And you choose one ability. While they're poisoned, they take disadvantage on saving throws made with that particular ability, which is nasty. That is nasty. So you could get this to go off before the end of a combat if we're using this in combat. So there is that. Now, I want to compare this. Well, first off, now that we've looked at the spell, we are going to give it a much higher score. I'm going to bump this one up to a B+, just for the damage and the poison condition. The second part of the spell may never actually come into play. Now, for you DMs out there, this is a great spell to be using against players. Just saying, this one will have effect on players, and a very nasty effect. Now, if we compare this to, say, Blight, which is like the 4th level version of these, there's Blight right there, which is a druid, sorcerer, warlock, wizard, not a cleric spell. So if you're a druid, you could cast this. The cleric of the grave domain and the death domain could also cast this. So a death domain cleric will have Blight and have Contagion. Contagion does 3 dice more necrotic damage on a failed save and half as much on a successful save. And that's basically it. So Contagion is a hopped up version of Blight. And it compares and it upcasts relatively well for a D8 if you cast it at 5th level. If I'm going to cast a 5th level spell, I might as well cast Contagion instead of Blight. Contagion does more damage, and it has a poison condition. So the increase in power from the 4th to the 5th level kind of version of these spells is pretty good. Now let's look at some classes that we can use in conjunction with this. If you've got a couple of levels in Sorcerer, you can get Meta Magic. So you need 2 levels to get Font of Magic and Meta Magic and Innate Sorcery. So that now the spell DC of your Sorcerer spells increases by 1, and I think there is a rule that says that all spells become your spells, and then you can heighten spell as well. You give 1 target disadvantage on saving throws because you want the first part of Contagion to go off. Once the first part goes off, you can give them disadvantage on all of the other saving throws by affecting their constitution. Now, as far as clerics go, this spell goes pretty good with Death Domain clerics because they do get Blight as well. And then they have things like Inescapable Destruction or Reaper, kind of things that flavor-wise go along with the Contagion spell. DMs, this is perfect class that you could be sticking this on for an enemy. And of course, who could forget Summon Undead? The new Summon Undead, if you are using the Rotting Claw Putrid Undead, just remember that, and Contagion is not a concentration spell, just like Summon Undead is. Now, you do need to be a warlock or a wizard, but if you've got one in your party that can cast this, if the target has the poison condition, which they will have after Contagion, they will become paralyzed when the putrid undead hits them. So that's a big deal, and you could work that out with your party to do that kind of combo. So all in all, I think that this is a great spell now. I'm giving it a B+. I think it is one of the go-to spells for druids and clerics, and I would be casting this quite a bit. And if it happens that they fail 3 saving throws, then they fail 3 saving throws, and it lasts for 7 days. All right, that's what I got for everybody today. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I will catch everybody